So for today, what I'm doing is I've just powered up the OrangeStorm Giga and the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max in the gym. So I need to print one of these on the Giga, and then I'm going to use my two 4 Maxes to do a foot and the leg. So I'll show you on this. So I'm going to end up with that. They're two different pieces, and I'll show you them on the slicer in a moment. And yeah, so I need to come back in here later and just put a little hairspray on the bed and let this thing preheat. Then I'll be able to let this thing go. So yeah, get back to you in a sec. Right, so just to show you what we're going to be doing on video number 3, I've set up some pieces for slicing here. So on the left-hand side here, I'm going to do a foot. Let me just show you here. Come on, rotate. There you go. So there's Huey's foot, and I'm going to do that on the Neptune 4 Max, and also pan out a bit and move around on the other 4 Max. I'm going to do the actual leg part, which is this. So they'll fit nicely on the 420 by 420 beds. And so let me just move this in and center it. Now on the settings, I'm using Pet G on the 4 Max just because that's what I happen to have loaded. I've got a bunch of 1 kilogram spools I can use. So I'm using some King Room Pet G on it. I'm going to be using a 0.2 layer height. The only things I've changed on here are really seam position, thrown it to the back. On the strength, by default it was 6 wall loops. I'm just leaving it as it is, which is more than I used on the big body, but what the hell. I've also changed the infill density here down to 10%, although I was using 5 in the larger sections, but hey, this is at the bottom, it's going to be taking the weight. Let's just make it a little bit denser. Still using the triangular infill just because it worked so well. And then on the other side, I just turned off the brim. There's no need for that because it's going to be sitting nicely flat on the plate. So I'm going to set that to slice. In fact, I've already sliced it, so save a bit of time. You didn't have to watch the delay as it went through there. So right now it reckons it's going to be a 17-hour and 6-minute print, and it's going to use we got here 654 grams of filament, so about 65% of a roll. So it's going to be pretty good. That other piece, I'm going to, the actual leg part, I'll slice that after using the same settings. I'll need to change it to PLA and then send it to the other Neptune 4 Max that I've got next to the OrangeStorm Giga. And then that can print that one while this is going. And then talking to the Giga, come over here. So here's the other side box that needs printing. And so just to show you all these pieces, I had to scale up from the original model by 635%. So you do a uniform scale using that button. You type in 635 and then everything will leap up in corresponding scale so you get your accurate pieces. So let me clip off that, click off that. Once again, 6mm nozzle, 0.6 millimeter nozzle. It's going to be using the 0.24 millimeter layer height. I'm going to be using that same PLA. In fact, I need to change that. Let's pick this. It's about excuse the name on it, but this was that PLA I wasn't having much luck with, but now I seem to have dialed it in on the Giga. So it's using a flow rate of 20. What we got down here? So the quality, everything looks fine there. Strength, like I said, set this for 3 loops, just like the first one I printed. Triangular infill, 5%. Had to turn on supports on this one. This didn't need anything. There's nothing that pops up that needs supporting, but this one does for some of these pieces on here. You can see, these little lips here, and where these supposed screws are coming out. I am going to have to, in fact, let's go in and prepare this. I'm going to turn off some of the supports. So here's support painting, and I'm going to go to the fill function. But see these red areas here? That's where supports are going to go. But because I don't want them, I'm going to right click and remove. Which way is it? I think it's the left. I think it's the right click will remove that. So now they're gone. These areas shouldn't get supports, if I remember rightly. Multi-material, other. The rest of it's look good. No raft. And let's have a look. Brim type, I've left it on auto. Let's see what it thinks of that. So, okay. So let's slice this, off it goes. And see what it comes out with. I need to check to make sure those supports aren't going to be printed. In fact, while it's doing that, let's just change here and tell this to print. Oh, I haven't even set up the printers on this one. I'll have to do that. Neptune 4 Max, printer name, host, 192.168.1 dash, the one behind me is 8. Connect. It doesn't like the fact I've got 2 instances of this over. I'll just have to export that to a memory stick and print from there. This one though, slice complete. Let's just make sure it didn't put the supports in. No, there you can see it didn't put the supports because I painted those areas out. The green is the supports. Those are the ones I didn't mess with. All right, and on this one, we're talking 1 day, 21 hours, 30 minutes. This one's going to take just over one of those spools. So 3 kilogram spool, just over. So, all right, so everything's good there. Device, it's showing my Giga is idle, ready to receive the file. So let's change this to print up here. Hit print. There's the Giga, alive and well. Upload and print. Off you go. So I'll send that through. There we go, it's through. Now I can go to the device and look at the details. There's my printer. There's the head coming alive. I'm going to go in there and watch that first layer going down. But first of all, I'm just going to export this to a memory stick, and as it doesn't seem to want to connect, and get this going behind me. All right, well, let's see how this gets on. All right, so quickly run in here. There's that file I remotely sent, already loaded in. I'd been preheating the bed beforehand, so it took off quickly. It feels a little high. Kind of hard to tell. I guess it's good. I'll let that run. And then I've got to go and slice and remote print to that one. So let me go and get on with that. Alright, so I had to export that file to the memory stick because that Elegoo slicer doesn't like more than one instance running for sending files to printers, which is quite interesting. I'll bear that in mind in future, because I can always use the other PC to run stuff around. But anyway, so whoa, so that's heading off. So we'll see how this goes down. So like I say, it's PLA, running a 240 nozzle temperature and a 70 bed temperature. So let's see how it hopefully sticks down. Looking nice and tight. Alright, we'll come back to that one. Let me go and get the other Neptune 4 Max running with the leg. Right, so I've preheated the other Neptune 4 Max for PLA. So I'm now going to set that to print. Legs 2, that's the one. Yep. Set it to print one of the legs there. Confirm. So let that go. Now, oof, right. I had to run in here. Man, it's doing it again. The brim is peeling on this. And the head took it off last time. So I actually was watching on the camera and it had pulled the brim off. So I had to come in, hit the stop, and then restart it again with a lower layer height. Remember I said it was a bit high. It felt high. So I came in, lowered it a couple of touches. Probably should have lowered it another bit as well, but let's see if we can get past this brim and then put the normal print down. So I still say the problem with this print head is it has those big fans on the bottom, and if anything sticks up, it can catch them and pull. That's what I think it's done again. Anyway, keep an eye on this. Let's make sure it gets this brim out of the way. Oof. See what I mean? That is not good. In fact, I'm going to go and get my trusty snips and just take that piece off. Hang on. Right, so I cut that bit off the edge there that was sticking up. Right, now it should be putting down the proper first layer. Right. I'll let that run for a bit and see how that looks. Back to the 4 Max here, so we've set that running. That feels okay. Junk filament there off the bottom of the nozzle as it started. This stuff, perhaps I really should have dried it beforehand. It's been sat on there for about a week, but we'll let this go down and see if this prints okay. It does look like it's doing a bit of a brim around it, but yeah, gonna let that run. Let's go and check on the other 4 Max and see how it's doing. Right, first 4 Max with the foot. So this is Pet G and going down nicely. Quick pivot round here. There's the Giga with that last side piece. Seems to be going down fine. Let's go in and take a look at that, make sure that's going down good. Really don't trust these first layers until I see them firmly in place, preferably with another 2 layers on top of them. So let's go and check that. Alright, so dash back into the gym, and that first layer is going down good. Everything seems to be sticking. Yay. Stay that way. Nothing else seems to be peeling off the side, so I'm kind of half tempted to even stop the print and pull that whole brim off because it's so loosely attached anyway. But hey, I'll just leave that run. Right, over here, second Neptune 4 Max. I say doing that leg piece, and yep, that's going down nicely. So I'm just going to leave that to keep running. What are we up to on here? 1% down, 22 hours to go. Spool looking good, so that should last through the night, and then I'll change that out in the morning. And over here, yeah, that's a pretty good remaining amount on that spool, so that should print all through the night as well. But yeah, I'll check on this before I go to bed and we'll see how we're getting on. Right, so I just had to do a filament change on this, so a whole new spool of Pet G on board, so that should be more than enough to finish off the foot. Now I'm going to go and check on the Giga. Everything seems to be looking good there, and also the other Neptune 4 Max. Alright, everything's still going down good here, nice and smooth, perfect. Put this back to the screen now. Take a look at it. So 2 hours 4 minutes in, 3 layers down. That should be good to finish. And the other format. That's a look. So yeah, plenty of filament there. Quality of the print looks good, and that's 6% done. So all right, it's everything doing fine. I think what I'm going to do is set up my Beagle cam on that little thing over there so I can keep an eye on this print and make sure nothing goes wrong. That way I can watch everything. Right, 5.5 hours in, and the foot is 21% done. Everything's looking fine so far, so let's go and take a look at the other items. Right, so as I said, over 5 hours in on the Elegoo at Giga. We're looking at 5 hours 11 minutes of printing because I had to restart it. But yep, that side piece still going down nice. Saying just 3% done, so long way to go. Plenty of filament on the spool for it to print overnight. Over here on the other Neptune 4 Max, the leg part is coming along nicely, showing 21% done. Another 18 hours to go. Still plenty of filament on the spool, so that should last all night as well. I need to get this relocated onto a proper table though, but let's see what I can find. As you can see from the vibrations, it's causing the spool strands to slacken off, and then they can end up passing under each other, and then you can end up with tangles. So you really don't want that sort of thing. Plus, you know, quality wise, you need these things on a good solid bed. So what I'll probably end up doing at some point is taking this and move it over to this wooden table, which is only just better off than that. So I've probably got room, to be honest, to put that and this delta on there, and then move all of the resin printing kit onto this table because it doesn't vibrate anything like a bed slinger. So that's probably the way I'll go. I'll move the old Saturn 4 onto that table. But anyway, something else to do at a later point. Well, I'll probably come in and check it just before I go to bed. But for now, all three machines are working fine. What I probably need to do is start looking at the really small parts, and then get things like this, making some of them. That'll be ideal for doing the claw. Get that Centauri carbon running, make some pieces. Perhaps even get the old Cobras running a few parts off, but I've been trying to hang on to them for colour printing. Anyway, right, we'll check back in a bit. Okay, it's midnight, time for bed. So last look at Huey's foot here. So it's been running away here for I think 9 hours and 5 minutes and about 50% done. So I don't know, I kind of think it doesn't have that long to go because that was the largest part. It should accelerate shortly once it gets up about another half an inch or so. Anyway, I'll leave that run. Spool's looking good. I'm going to go and check on the other two printers and turn the lights out there. So we'll see this in the morning. Back into the old gym, and let's have a look. So 8 hours and 51 minutes into this print. This is the one that's going to have a long time to go because this is the largest piece, but yep, everything going down nicely. And that's it. Still a lot of filament on the spool, so that'll last overnight. Okay, and so let's go over to this, and yep, everything's still looking good there. Spool still being shaken to pieces. God, I really do have to look at moving this. So what are we at here? 39%. Just getting, if you like, to that part there. So I've got to soon be doing that roundish bit here, and then the pin that goes up into the body. Not much else I can do apart from go to bed. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. Okay, Tuesday morning, first of the Neptune 4 Max machines, and we're at 86% on the foot, and really not that much more to go, just finishing off the top, and then there's a peg that comes out the top. So that's looking very nice. Should be done in a few hours. Let's go and take a look at what the other machines are doing. Alright, so the Giga is still going good, and we're looking at 19% according to this, so we're up to about that point. Still a long way to go, so 15 hours and 17 minutes done. Spool at the back still looking good for a few hours, and then the other Neptune 4 Max, it's doing good with the leg part. So look, 68% done. Let's have a look. So we're getting up. Right, so this brown area is printed. We're up on the black area at the moment with all those little ridges, which are hard to see because it's got a band of support going around it. So once again, that's looking fine. Not quite sure if that spool's going to be enough though, but I'll be keeping an eye on that during the day. But so far, so good. Right, so 1 foot finished. Oop. So that came out very nice. Like I said, no supports needed. Yeah, I like that. So what I'm going to do is just set this one to print again, so I can get the second one because they're identical. And let's go and check on the other ones. Alright, so there's Huey's foot with the other 2 completed parts, and the leg, which will go on top of this, is up to 75% now. So it's coming along fine. And once again on the Giga, we're up to 23% there. That's coming along nicely. And I just realized, oh no I didn't, sorry, I thought I'd put supports on for the large hole, but that's not what that is. At least I don't think it is. Alright. What are we looking at there? Back end. Okay, what is that piece? Okay, that's there. Oh, I must be putting a small support here for this lip. I was like, please don't put supports all the way in here because it prints nicely without them. Right, that's all for now. Video time. So this one has almost finished, but I thought it had finished, and then I went to look at the screen and I was like, oh, hang on, it ran out of filament. So it's almost at the end, as you can see. So let me quickly go and get another roll of PLA and stick that on and get this going again. So I loaded it up with like a half a spool of green that I had lying around just to use up on my junk partial wheels. So I've loaded it into the print head there. I hit continue. Gonna purge a little. It's gonna purge a lot. Come on. There we go. Hopefully this green will stick just as good to the last layer. So it's showing 94% complete. Alright, let that last bit of green go down. Meanwhile, over here, 33% complete. Everything is still fine there. This spool, judging by that hole at the bottom there, it's still probably got a couple of hours left before that changes out. Alright, also I've powered up the T1. So I'm going to go and run some parts on this and also get something going on the Centauri carbon. Alright, so I've taken the pieces that will fit on the T1, put them on display here. So I'm going to do the first part of the arm on that, and that's this little block here, which is the piece, the round piece that will go into the hole in Huey's chest piece. So just gonna slice that up. Here we go. So it hardly uses any filament at all. It's going to take about 50 minutes to print. Let me make sure the device is actually there. Connection failed. Try again. Come on, find it. Make sure I'm actually connected to the network. Yes, I am. Come on, find the thing. This might have had the wrong IP in. I signed all the printers with fixed IPs later. But, oh, there it is. It did find it. All right. So everything's looking fine. Let's go back to the preview. We'll hit print. So to printer, upload and print. Oh, jeez. Error uploading to print host. Failed to upload. Something going on with the home network here. Alright, I'm just going to go and save this to a SD card or, a memory stick and print it. Back in a bit. Okay, folks, so... Whoa, I forgot how noisy this machine is. I tried wirelessly printing a second time, and that one worked. So... there it is, it's taken off, heating up the nozzle. Close that door. Jeez. Anyway, come back over here. And yeah, that green filament's going down. It's 96%. So as soon as it finishes this run, I'll get that off the bed, and then I'll just tell it to print a second one. And once again, green filament all coming apart with the vibrations. Where are we at here? 34%. Man, this is definitely a machine you do not put in your bedroom. Fast and noisy. Looking at the display there, it's just getting the nozzle and the bed up. So it's set for 220 on the nozzle and 60 on the bed. Come on, get going. And probably going to have to change the spool. I put on some small spools earlier, so once that's finished, I'll swap it out for one of the larger ones I've got lying around here. But they just don't seem to sit comfortably inside these machines. I'm seeing a hole there. I wonder if that's a filament feeder. Yeah, it is. So you can actually put something on top, feed it through the hole and down. That's interesting. Have to look at doing something about that. So anyway, off it goes. It's calmed down a bit now, not making half the racket it was. Yeah, so now I'm interested. What can I do to the top of this to feed the large spools down? Yeah, definitely going to have to give that some thought. Gotta have something around. Right. Okay, let's leave these things printing and come back shortly. Right, so while the T1 is printing this piece, I'm going to get the Centauri carbon to do the next bit that attaches to it. You'll see that little piece sticking out there. That will go into the slot on the underside of this. So let's have a look. So going for a 2mm layer height, settings here, brim, yeah, we'll leave that on auto. We'll see what it decides to do. No skirt, let's have a look. Quality wise, seam, let's put it there. Back, what we got here? Anything? No ironing, wall generator, classic, strength, 2 walls, Right, yes, 15%, that's fine. Speed, yeah, supports, none. Oh. I guess it could bridge it. Will it bridge? That's the question. Let's try it with no supports to start with. Let's see if it'll just bridge across that whole slice plate. Alright. So let's fire it up. Like I say, see if we can bridge over the top of that, because that's not going to be visible, so I'm not even worried if it looks a bit rough. And these holes are going to be filled with parts, so again, those aren't a worry. So let's go and print. Let's see if we can find the device. Okay, that's the Giga. I don't want that. There's my Centauri. Okay, it detects that. Preview. Print. No, I do not want to print to that. Cancel. Device. Okay, that's the Centauri carbon. Project. Preview. Print. Printer. How do I change the printer? Okay. Down in Lansbury. Why is it connecting to the... Oh, there's always something with these things, isn't it? Print preview, device. Okay, see that there. That's the connected printer. No printers available. Why does it keep wanting to come back to this? I do not want to print. Aha! Okay, click on it. Simple as that. Click on the picture and pick your printer. Centauri carbon, auto level in time lapse, blah 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 blah. Upload. Right, let's see if this one sends. There we go, completed. And there it is across there. So let's go and take a quick look. Yep, there's the image being sent over. Nozzle's heating up. Bed's heating up. I'll let it get on with it and see what it looks like. Meanwhile, over here, the second foot going down nicely. Where are we at now? 21% there. Alright. I'm going to go and run back into the gym because I'm kind of hoping that the leg part is finished and I can take that off the bed and get the second leg printed. While I'm in here, let's take a look at how this noisy bugger's doing. Alright, there's the cylinder going down. Spool's emptying off. And I had an idea. So if I use one of these as a filament holder, it doesn't need to be plugged in. I know it's a dryer. We've got those rollers in there. And then just run the filament up at an angle over this lip and in. Whether it'll get them pulled in over the side, hopefully without breaking. I don't know, it's going to probably rub on that hole. That probably isn't going to work. More thought. What the hell am I going to do? I'd have to 3D print something to go on top of it. Alright, anyway, back over here. Where are we at? 98%. Oh, it's still going. Right, a few more minutes, that should be done. And once again, it's still going. Alright, back into the other room, check on the Centauri carbon. Let's see how that's got started up. Okay, so second piece of the arm section. That's printing off nicely in there. Up to 35% done. And let that carry on. Foot is still coming along well. And then over here, let me show you what I've been up to. So I took the opportunity to look at some of these pieces and I figured on the Kobra 3 Max I could do some painting. I'm not sure whether I'll do the top because I think that I'll probably still be better off doing that by hand, but certainly pieces like the sections here might be worth doing, or if you have a look like these panels here, quickly do them in black and silver, and possibly this control box here I could paint up and make that more interesting. Let's have a look. These bits look like red lights. Looking at that. Something like that. Anyway, something along those lines. Just to give it some sort of variation. Yeah. Oh well. Let's go and see what's happening in the gym. Right, so we're finished on Neptune 4 Max in the gym. It hasn't quite decided to come off yet. Where's my razor? There you go. See if I can coax it off the plate. We've still got to give it a few minutes to cool down, and it should come off. Alright, I'll leave it alone. Don't like to put too much pressure on this because you spend all that time leveling your bed, and if you start trying to if you start trying to roughly tear things off, you can change the level of the bed. Right, that's going to be glued back on. Oh, damn it. So much for changing filaments. Right, never mind. Bit of glue, I'll be fine. Then I'll get the supports out the way. Meanwhile, on here, everything's looking fine. That's in the T1 is completed. Whoop, and there we go. That's come off the bed. Now that is going to go in there, although not all the way in. This seems, whoa, way too small. I wonder if the scale of it was wrong. So have a check on that, make sure that it was sliced to the right percentage. Alright, I'll have a look on that one. I hope I didn't make a mistake on some of the part sizes. Oh, right. So that's good. Come on, get off. Wait for that to come off, get that printing again, and then glue that. Damn it. And this is up to 37%, still going strong. Right, let's get something else going in here. And yeah, that'll do for now. Meanwhile, problem solved with running filament inside this machine from a larger spool. I found this little adjustable filament holder. So yeah, I'll just be able to run that straight from the reel down to the hole, and it should feed quite nicely from this and spin easily. So yay, sorted that one out. Right, so I came back in here and checked this part against this hole, and yeah, they are the same scale, except when you're down at this level it didn't make much difference. You know, wasn't that noticeable when you put it in there. Now it's been scaled up 635%. You've got a noticeable gap around it. So what I'll probably make is just a sheath on Tinkercad to go inside that hole. Just you know, a circular one, it'll drop in, and then this will go inside that. Probably the easiest way, because if I scale this up a bit, then this piece here, the notch, that'll change size as well, and then I'll have to change that, and then this won't fit on it, and there'll be a knock-on effect where I'll have to bring everything up to scale equally. So yeah, bit of a pain, but yeah, I'll just make something to go around it so it'll fit in that hole. No big shakes. Let's see what other surprises we find. Alright, change of plans. So I went in and measured the OD of the hole in the casing and the OD of this, and here's the difference between 70 millimeters roughly on this one, 71.25, to 79 on the actual hull. So yeah, I'm just gonna, because I've only printed this bit and I've got this coming off from the Centauri carbon, I'm just going to increase this up. So I'm going to click in here and do it as a uniform scale. Make this 79. And it comes up to 704.3. So I'm just going to use 704 as the scale for the parts of the arm. And I'm going to do them all at that slightly larger size, and then reprint this and reprint this. I'm going to do this one first just to make sure that it actually fits the hole properly. So it's going to take 1 hour and 3 minutes, and let me send the print. Upload and print. Right, send that to the machine. That's going to print out on the T1, so if that's right, I'll start doing the other parts that same way. And it's encountered in there. Oh God, it doesn't want to print again. Don't put me through this. Try again. Connection failed. I don't know if it's because I've got multiple versions of Orca-based slicers running, that they're interfering with each other. But we shall see. Anyway, that's what I'm going to do. I'll get back to you when it starts printing. Alright, better speak up now to get over the noise of this beastie, but it's printing an enlarged version of the plug to go in the hole. So that's the other piece that came off the Centauri carbon, which should have joined together to go in there. But as I said, the play, I mean, if you zoom in here, you can see there's like a 9 millimeter gap on the side. I mean, this is just massive. So I'm printing one that's larger, that should fill that gap, and that's coming off right now. So it's going to take about an hour. Meanwhile, I'll set up the Neptune 4 Max to print the other leg using that horrible green stuff. I've still got to glue that on there. So there's the leg part, and I've removed some of the supports, but I need to sand down where the supports are joining it, because they've left some pieces all over the place. This will go into there, and that'll be the leg, and then that hole there goes over that like so, and then let's say this will end up like, oh hell, oh shit, hang on for that. Let's get this camera setting right. There we go, zoomed out a bit. So I probably should have set up my tripod. So that'll end up something like that. We hope. Anyway. So we have pieces coming together. Yeah, the next part will be, of course, getting these painted up. First thing I've got to try and do is, I think, locate a decent color for this. So let's go and see what I can find in the sort of burnt sunset orangey sort of range. Buy a few cans of that and spray it up and see how it looks. Plus, of course, I've got to go and sand all these rims off. But alright, so it's going to take about another day and a bit to get the other leg and foot done, and then these things, I'll get them working on the arm. Good thing I noticed about this is, even though I've only got that sort of smallish round plate, it is quite tall. So the piston bits of the arms, the cylinders, they should be able to go up there vertically and print at a decent rate of speed. All right, so I'll leave it with this for the moment and head on back to my room and do some more slicing. Doing now, oh, that thing's calming down. Because of the differences in tolerances on this scale up, I've gone in and I've measured the critical dimensions of these panels so that I can adjust the sizes of them on the slicer before I print them. And then, because this piece for the arm was so slack, I ran off a slightly larger one on the T1, which, as you can see, fits perfectly now, but it's just a fraction off the size needed to slot into the normal scale arm pieces by about 1 millimeter. So I've resliced this again 1 millimeter down in the hope that it will, when it's printed, fit into that, and if it does, then I'll print the rest of the arm pieces as is the scale they're on. And that's what I hope is coming out here. So I'll let this thing play out, and we'll come back on and check on it shortly. Oh, and this is just worth showing you how fast these damn deltas print compared to other machines. So look at, just look at that layer going down there. Damn thing's on crack. So I'm going to use this to do, the cylinders for the arms, because they actually fit vertically, just. So. All right. Okay, so working from my notes, I'm going to take the panel there. Oops, you see it there, that one. There, that panel. So created it here on Anycubic Slicer next, colored it in, adjusted the size and scaled it up to match this 160 across by 90. So I increased it that way, and now I've sliced it and sent it to the printer. So this is going to be about a 2-hour 44-minute print. Using the V2 over there, the smaller one, and let's go and see what I can get printing on the larger one. Right. Alright, so now we've got this piece and this piece of the arm completed. Time to move on to the cylinders. So I'm going to use the T1 to run off this first side cylinder. So I'm just going to slice that plate using the same settings as I've been using before. Don't think I need supports. Yep, supports are off. Slice plate. Let's have a zoom in on it. No, nothing there that needs anything. So let's export it. To my thumb drive. Save. Alrighty. Open the folder. Check it's there. Yep. All good. Eject. And go. Okay, let's go and take this next door. Let's have a look. Huey's last foot is at 64%. So we've got to the top of the foot. We've just got the swirly bits and the peg, to give them their technical terms. Over here on the K3V2, that control panel in color is coming along very nice. It's nearly finished. It's 84%. The Centauri carbon is doing the bottom joint of the arm, and that's, as you can see, nearly done there. That's at 94%. So let's go through to the gym. Alright, back to the noisy machine again. Let's go and put the USB drive in. It's way up, that way. Come on, go in. Jesus. Got a 50-50 chance and it still takes 4 attempts. Alright, so I've loaded up a full spool of red, so it's not going to run out during the print. And let's go home and let's go print. We'll go to the USB stick. There it is. Come on, there we go. Let's do the bed leveling. Let's do the vibration compensation, as I've been sliding this thing around. Reckons about an hour and 6 minutes, which isn't bad for this thing, but let's go and hit print. I do wish they'd correct the spelling on this though. Yes. Alright, so off it goes. Whoa, there's the vibration compensation going. Look at that filament, it's like a guitar string going there. Okay. Alright, I'm going to leave that to its leveling. I will come back and check them in later. Okay, so carbon's finished Ooh. The joint for the arm, that's still stuck down because it's literally just finished now. That's hot to the touch. I'll let that cool down and I'll pull it off. And we are so close here to the control panel, and the foot's still going down there, so everything's going good. Alright, so here's the first of the control panels finished. Done it in Pet G, so I'm going to have to go and get a razor and a scraper to get this off the bed, because Pet G likes to hang on for dear life. So I'm going to go and pull this off, and then we'll go and take it into the gym and just show how it fits to the Huey model. Right, so let's get this off here so I can finally get to bed. Yep, come on. And this filament likes to stick. There we go. So, whoop. There we have one of the first pieces. Not sure quite where this goes, but somewhere along lines of going into these slots. Not sure where. Not sure if this is one of the side bits or what. But anyway, one of them done. I said, spray it silver, give it a nice metallic look. It would be great. Leg is still slowly printing there. Full spool back there, which will finish off this bit. So I'm just going to go and remotely print another cylinder on this and leave that run overnight along with these machines. Alright, well, I'll catch up with you all in the morning and let you know where we are. And again, before I head to bed, I've just sliced up two of the control panels for the front of Huey. Doing these in color just because I'm being lazy, so black, and although this looks white, I've assigned texture silver to it. So I've got the Cobra 3 Max that's going to run these off overnight, just because both of them fit on the bed together. So let's look, what's that, I reckon 11 hours of printing. How much filament we got here? About a total of 149 grams, so not much. It's about what it's estimating a $3 print to get both those panels done. So we'll see how it looks tomorrow. And just before I go, just to show you, there's the other foot, and we're just doing the last peg coming up now, so this will probably finish in about an hour or so. It's 88%, so we'll have that complete in the morning. All right, good night all. Morning. Giga's 89% done on that last side piece, so that shouldn't be too much longer. Plenty of filament there. I've just walked in and seen that this ran out of filament during the night, so I better go and grab a spool and change that out. And hey Damon, and the cylinder finished in the FLSun, so I've got one more cylinder to do there. So I just made it back from downtown, and this one's finished in 45 hours and 44 minutes. So yep, there's that second side piece. Oh, there we go. Cool down, pop off. I've got to remove that brim. So yeah, so now we're going to have both sides. Pop him down there for the moment. So what I'll do is I'm just going to clean these up, and I'll stick them onto the side of this just for effect, and that would be my last video. So give me until tomorrow, and I'll be able to upload this. Meanwhile, Marvin's leg is carrying on with that. Marvin's leg? Huey's leg is carrying on. But man, this, looking up here where the filament's getting a bit tangled up there. I should have moved this before I started the print, but anyway, that's up to 70% complete, so that shouldn't be long either. And that's about it for the moment. Right, so I'll get back to you once I've cleared off the brims and stuck these side pieces on here, and then we'll have a much better look of how Huey's coming together.